Welcome to Discerning News, where we bring you current stories from a bigger picture perspective. The purpose is to inspire clarity and enthusiasm for your unique journey. Welcome back to Discerning News. It's week 7. Can you guys believe we're week 7? What in the world?
Goes by quick.
It sure
Sure
does.
does. Yeah.
And I know we've got some good stories for you guys this week. So excited to start with Tom. Let's hear a story you got going on today, Tom.
Well, the first story I'd like to get into from the spiritual perspective is the recently reported story with regards to one of the team members, one of the software engineers with DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. And this week, I heard talk of the fact that I caught it in a couple of things. One was a Trump press release, and one was a tweet by J.D. Vance. And the tweet, essentially, this young fellow who's 25 years old, his name is Elez. The Wall Street Journal published an article that highlighted some inappropriate and racist tweets, is how they characterized it. They were archived. It's not something he's got live anymore. And so they, I guess, put pressure on him to resign from his post at DOGE, and essentially he's a software engineer. He's got the tools to investigate the data, I guess at the Treasury Department and over at USAID and so forth. So it first came to light to me during this press conference where one of the reporters asked if President Trump supported this fellow being hired back. And he pointed out that his vice president, J.D. Vance, had supported this young fellow. And I thought I'd read the tweet. So the tweet.
It's a treat to read the tweet.
Little Tweety Bird. Remember Tweety Bird? Okay, so here's J.D. Vance's tweet. Here's my view. I obviously disagree with some of Elez's posts, but I don't think stupid social media activity should ruin a kid's life. We shouldn't reward journalists who try to destroy people, ever. So I say, bring him back. If he's a bad dude or a terrible member of the team, fire him for that. And then in addition, attached to that tweet, Elon Musk had put something out, was it a poll with regards to bringing back the staffer? And over 70% of the respondents, when I checked it, had said, yes, bring the guy back. So the reason I bring this up is not because I'm defending the young fellow's tweets. I mean, from what I read, they were pretty strange, but I wouldn't agree with his tweets. Let's put it that way. But I have sympathy for younger people going through their cycles of life. And, from 14 to 21 is the cycle of identity, and 21 to 28 is the cycle of maturity. So I suppose I've outlined the basic facts for that enough. And I turn it over to
Le Tigre.
Tiger. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this one came on my radar just a little bit later on in the week. I know it had happened. It wasn't something I would typically look at. So I'm glad you brought it up. The things that stood out to me on this was a little bit of what you brought up about what cycle am I in, right? In order for me to learn and grow, I have to push boundaries. That's right in the whole way of doing things in our cycles, right? I mean, that's just to go a little bit deeper on what you're bringing up, that 14 to 21 is, really, it's a need to push the boundaries. It's a need to go beyond the norm that I'm used to in my family unit or the school system or, my environment. It's a need to do that for me to start finding out the difference between me and mama and papa and the dog and the cat and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty normal for strange stuff to come out of me or anyone during that time because I'm trying to figure it out, And so pushing the boundaries is part of the deal there. And then, moving right into 21 to 28, now you're moving into maturity which can be a really challenging time because now I have to not only make sure I know where I begin and who I am, but I need to apply it, right? I need to get rid of the stuff that doesn't belong and do what I need to do. So that's just one point that stood out to me personally and spiritually. And for me not to look on my past as a negative. Like if I look back at all the things that I've done and say what I did was wrong, then I'm going to be tied up inside, right? Any movement I make, it's going to be one step, 2 step forward, 1 step back. There's always this tension in me because I'm afraid I'm going to do that again, or how I look, or it's like the water's tainted for me going forward, right? So I need to accept who I am, what I've done, and learn from it and move forward. That's one thing that stands out to me on this. The other thing that stands out to me is because these tweets from this gentleman are archived, it's difficult to get a hold of them, right? It's like you can't really see. It was like, was all this done in fun and jest, or was it done as maliciously? It's like it's all skewed now. So now it becomes this she said, he said thing. It's all hearsay now after a while. And everybody's expanding on hearsay, right? So this is why it's so important to have my own feelings and my own facts about things. The other thing that stood out to me was the business and the politics, right? The final part on this was, if I'm running something, if I'm in charge of something, making sure that the team is on board and we're all kind of moving forward together. And there is this sense that we all have the highest good and we're presenting something positive forward. And if a teammate of mine is not doing that, then I need to evaluate that situation, because I can't be halfway if I have a service or I'm moving forward. I can't have like this one and that one off on this direction and talking about that stuff, when it takes a lot just to be successful to do one thing. So I can't have that energy of somebody going in a different direction or making something look bad when I'm trying to build, right? So there's value in saying, no, some of what you're saying doesn't fit. So, find something else. But then the other side of the coin for me is, wait a minute, is this just something personal and social that they're doing on the side and they're doing a great job in business? Because that's actually what I need to be, that helps me move forward. So, there is, when it comes to government things, right, that politics does play a role more than the citizenry's business. And so there's a value to some of that for me. So I need to be sensitive. What that comes back to me personally on the whole thing is, I need to be sensitive to how there's a presenting things, because that's part of how I connect with people, right? Personally, spiritually, I need to connect with people. So I need to, don't go in, if I'm going to a nice put a nice outfit on if I'm going to a nice place. If I'm hanging out with, the tough guys or tough gals, then I'm wear that uniform, So there is value to how things look. But I do need to have the base, which I think is where it got to in the end, which was people saying, hey, do you want this guy back? Or, we should be basing things on the value of the merit that they work with and not their past. So this is a good place to be and to start from, and not have reactions to. And that's what I regroup in the discernment of the news for this, is I need to come back to a solid place. I need to start there, that if this is what it's going to be based on merit, period. And then we can talk about the politics, and then we can see how it looks, but not the other way around. I need for myself, I need to say, what is my foundations? And I go forward for there and I adjust, but that foundation always stays the same. So that's me.
That's you. Okay. Well, for myself, there's a couple pieces of it. One is, of course, the age of this young person who's coming into this new job. Because, again, like Tiger mentioned, whenever I, too, was at those younger ages, especially later teens, I mean, I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. The military, overseas, drinking, having fun, living life, and saying stupid crap occasionally. And I look back at those times for myself and I say, I'm thankful we didn't have social media. I'm thankful we didn't have cell phones and the ability to go live every place. But on a spiritual perspective, which is what we like to bring forth in these sharings, not just the news, but what's the spiritual aspect of it. And when I look at this and I think about the people who are judging and the people who have come at this young person for things he's done in the past, and of course it may only been a couple of years ago, but still it's in the past. Where are these people who are judging at spiritually? What have they put together for themselves to understand that aspect of, yeah, we all do stuff when we're younger. Even a couple of years ago, I might have said something stupid that, that I don't regret because it was part of my evolution. So depending upon where the person is that's judging, where the person is that's, condemning these people or condemning this person to come down on them, what work have they done on themselves to really understand that we're a soul on a mission? We've got backing, we're on a journey where we're at because of what we've been through. So that's my part of it, because for myself, again, I've done some crazy stuff when I was a lot younger. And even a couple years ago, I might have said some stupid stuff, but that's my past. And where am I at right now? And can I do the job? If this young person is able to move in from wherever he's been through and what he's, done in his life and accomplished, and now he can do the job, I say good on him. So that's my part really about the people who are judging and condemning and firing. Where are they at in their reality of understanding that soul and where that soul's at right now and how to work with that soul?
Yeah. So what I hear you say, Teresa, is that nurture, am I going to nurture this soul? Am I going to share with this soul what's needed, or am I going to demonize him and crucify him? And that cycle of maturity, it's occurred to me, especially as my sons matured, and they're both in that cycle of maturity. So I have some sympathy, towards this young fellow. And it never ceases to amaze me how folks in their 20s can seem to be so ahead of their years, to say some brilliant, insightful things. And then on the other hand, the next day or the next week, they make some decision or have their judgment you go, why would you ever do that or say that? Even if that's really how you felt, why would you ever say it, in this environment? So, but I think that we, at 21, we say, okay, you're grown up physically somewhat, for the most part. You've been educated to a great degree. So now we'll let you free to go out and have your learning experiences. It doesn't mean that I hit 21 and I'm all of a sudden mature. No, now you get to go get mature. And, often when I think about things that, let's say some younger folks do, and I go, why would they do that? And then I'll flash back to some silly thing I did or didn't do, back in my 20s, and the way I thought of things, and, really just not having that clear perspective of the game that's going on around me, because I was trying to navigate through concepts and lots of people telling me rather than what I felt, and I didn't even know how to distinguish what I felt versus my emotions. So it's all part of the learning and growing process. One of the final comments I'll make on it is apparently Elon Musk said something like, his reply was, to err is human, to forgive is divine. And I get chills on that, because this is where I always want to come back to, is that, there's this spiritual perspective. It's not a religious perspective. It's a spiritual perspective that I'm a soul having a human experience. I'm here to learn and grow. But the more that I naturally tune into my natural true concern, the more that I, am a healing light and a healing force. So anyone who's trying to create moral issues around a subject and not pivoting from love and respect is really confused. And that is confusion. I'll say it straight up. And you can be confused if you want to. I respect your right for that. And I respect that people have that opportunity to bring up those moral issues. But boy, look out. Once the moral issues are being created, who's trying to control who and what's the real agenda and all that. Because, anyways, I guess those are my final thoughts.
All right. Well, in just a moment, we're going to come back with a couple more stories, some nice spicy ones I think you'll like.
When you arrived back, you were enthusiastic to be here. If you've lost some of that enthusiasm, there's a way to reawaken it. It's by embracing a bigger spiritual picture of your life as a soul and igniting the feeling of freedom within. If you're ready and needing some more enthusiastic mojo for yourself, then follow the link in the show notes to access a free video series created by the Way Showers College and get ready to start feeling more clarity, hope, and freedom within. Well, here we are back again, and Tom is going to open this one up again. So, hey, Tom, share us some facts on this next story we've got.
Well, the next story, I've made some notes because I wanted to remember some of the great facts that I had, is with regards to Trump this week, President Trump saying that, he'd like to rebuild Gaza, or he put that forward as a possible solution. And, something about that just struck me. And I must admit, there's conflicting ideas that, come to mind, which is, I'm a great believer in freedom and autonomy of the people. And there's no way to sort of force your state of consciousness on other folks. But on the other hand, apparently 70% of Gaza has been leveled, about 245,000 housing units. There's about 50 million tons of debris. The sewers are, backed up. It's a real mess. 47,000 people that they know of have passed on. And it would take tens of billions of dollars, according to the United Nations, and 350 years to get Gaza back to where it was. That's the part I don't quite buy. I don't think it would take 350 years. Could take tens of billions. But when we look at that investment, we also look at what is created out of tens of billions of dollars if it's built and rebuilt and reframed or reestablished in a more positive way. So in addition, 70% of the cropland, I guess about 40% of Gaza was cropland or agriculture, and about 70% of that has been demolished. So I wanted to bring the story up, hear everybody's thoughts. Part of it inspired me. Part of it I went, wow, well, there's some pitfalls there. And so I'll turn it over to Tiger.
All right. So the Gaza and the Israel situation and the rebuilding of that. A couple things to this, and mainly just staying at the spiritual side of it, because this is one of those lovely, contentious, political, emotional, et cetera, areas. The echo. In this program, we talk about the echo. And it's basically saying that if I keep doing something and I create a pattern, right, there's going to be an echo that goes out from that. And, if it's done long enough, it just starts being a habit, right? It's a syndrome that just keeps going and going. And those conflicts and those types of conflicts, right? It's not the borders change over time, but the conflicts have been going on over there for a very long time. And, one level or another, most groups have been involved in it at some point in history. So we've all been touched by that. That's something for me to be aware of. So those are the facts. So there's an echo there. And even if everything stopped tomorrow, there's that echo and that pattern is there, right? And it's going to take time, if they just stopped, to shift that, right? Now, a couple things stand out to me on this. One is seems to be this timing right now. And I think it's indicative of had a podcast about the coming energy of 2025. And I think this is a part of that. I think from my discernment, this is a part of that energy of shifting, and which is why there seems to be so much turbulence in the world. And we have this 24-hour news system that just throws it in our lap. So, if I've got my phone, my God, the world is dying again, and then I turn on to tomorrow again, it just keeps happening over and over again. It's been happening for a million years, So that's number one, is there's just an echo that's happening there. It's going to keep happening unless something genuinely changes. And I have a friend of mine in Australia, and he loves this saying, and I've taken it too. If I do what I've always done, I'm going to get what I've always got. And until there is something that is a shift that comes from the source, like, okay, this is a shift that's bigger picture and beyond what you've been playing with, right? If that moves in, then there's a possibility of a solution. There's the possibility of change, right? Until that happens, basically, I'm at the mercy of the old echo that keeps coming around, and I keep feeding it, right? And for me, I just have to be really sensitive. What am I feeding, right? If I've done something in the past and I keep doing it, and then all of a sudden I want to make a change, I need to know that, hey, I've had some momentum in that direction. So when I go to make change, there's going to be some resistance, right? There's going to be resistance in even people who have a lot of love for me. They're going to be a little bit of resistance because, hey, Tiger, you're changing. That's not what you've been doing for X amount of years. What are you doing? So it's not that they don't love me or respect me, or they don't want the best. It's you're changing. So there's a resistance, and that doesn't even count the people who don't like me, and like that kind of stuff. So if there's going to be change in this, it has to be done from a bigger picture, and it's evaluating those things like what's in my best interest, right? So when it comes to that situation out there, it always has to come from the bigger picture. What's the bigger picture? What's the interest? Like, what's in it for me? And is it in the best interest of the people I'm working with? So for me personally, the spiritual piece of it has to do with coming back to what is my motive? Am I coming from the old pattern, or am I going to shift to something new? There's always great things that could happen. The potential is always there. Even in the worst of times, there's always potential to do something. But for me, it has to come from a pivot point of what is really my purpose. Is this the direction that I'm going to be a part of? If it is, then there'll be great solutions. And then the last thing is that big picture, making sure that I'm a part of a bigger picture, and then there can be change. It's something that's larger, and it overwhelms the old little bad habits that I have had. If I can come in with it, I'm a part of something bigger, which is the other reason why we talk about purpose. We talk about purpose in this program, and you check the lecture link down below, because it really does. It's a game changer, right? All of the little stupid habits I get involved in can wash through, and I can have my challenges with them, but I get washed forward because I'm more involved in my bigger picture purpose, right? So that's something that that bigger picture helps wash through things, and there can be better solutions.
Okay, for myself, I'm going to go with in a little different direction
Mhm.
because I really recognize that there are obviously a lot of people out there that love Trump and a lot of people that hate Trump. And for myself, I recognize that, especially in the work we do in the Way Shores College and some of the classes Tom and I do with Intuition Now, which is obviously affiliated, trying to reconnect. Make sure you have a stable connection. Still up there. Let me make sure.
You'll need to start over a little bit.
No, it looks like it's still connected, but it just had a little thing. It's still good. Okay. So what I want to share about in this story, and I'm really glad Tom brought it forth because it really stimulated me in the sense that when it came out, there were a lot of people who were like, "What in the world does President Trump think he's doing?" So there's a lot of people that love Trump, and there's a lot of people that hate Trump. And so in the work we do in the Way Shores College and some of the classes and things we offer online, there is an ability to understand the 4 psychic abilities, your 4 gifts. And so what I would say about President Trump is he's high in the gift of prophecy. He's high in that ability to see a bigger picture, be able to kind of know where things are going to be coming down the road, and needing a team to bring forth those grounding abilities to have that bigger picture come into form. And also, people that are high in prophecy really get those insights ahead of time. So it might not be 350 years from now, but being able to understand what kind of person we're dealing with when someone comes out and goes, "Yeah, I'm going to make Gaza Strip into the next Riviera." Well, really, probably not, probably not anytime too soon. But he's got a vision that prophetic ability to really get a sense of what it could become down the road, and that's why, whether or not you love him or not, he is a I don't know, what is he, a billionaire? I don't know what he's made a lot of money because he knows where he can take things. So understanding and having that momentum behind him as a prophetic person, someone high in prophecy, he knows how he can just gather people, and then those people are the ones that are going to do the work and help him support it. So I think that's where I just wanted to go with it in regards to really understanding. If you kind of get a sense of those 4 psychic abilities, the gift of prophecy, the gift of vision, the gift of being an intuitive, and the gift of feeling, and then you can recognize when you're really hearing someone say something, "Oh, that person, oh, he's giving me a picture, so they're high in vision." So then you really understand how to work with these people or a person. And that's why I really love understanding more about the gifts, because I understand, like, Tom's a visionary and Tiger's an intuitive and I'm an intuitive. And we kind of understand one another, understand how to work with one another. So that's where I wanted to go with this story in this sense, because when I saw it come out, I heard all the backlash and all the laughing and whatever about what he was putting together. But being a person high in prophecy, he has that ability to know where down the future he can take people.
Yeah, people with the first gift of prophecy or who have that highly developed, they tune into the potential and new ideas, and they can, you have a premonition, you can see into the future. So they make great executives. But, there's a balanced side to the prophetic gift, and there's an out of balance side to the prophetic gift. So for some of our listeners that may not prefer President Trump, keep in mind that some of what you don't prefer is really just his out of balance characteristics. So in other words, when he's more in his intellect than his true feelings, or more in his true feelings than his intellect. I love the idea of the talk that hitting this, as Tiger was saying, hitting something with a new, out of the like, what, kind of solution. And I noticed that when I deal with all my prophetic friends, they often say things that I go, I'm a visionary, so I tend to be more traditional in my pictures and thinking and so forth. But I have a prophetic part, and at first I'm usually pretty shocked, or I might not say it, but like, what? That's like way out there, but But over time, I begin to go, oh, that makes way more sense than I ever thought as the facts unfold or the picture unfolds for me. But what I love about this story is that, yeah, let's hit something with a completely fresh, new solution, because this the old way of looking at this has not the energy pattern that keeps repeating itself. And on the other hand, that energy pattern isn't going to, from a spiritual perspective, for those of you that get challenges like this that come up in your life and you just, okay, I'm going to hit this from a whole different direction. I'm going to rebuild. This sounds crazy, but I have a feeling for that. I'm inspired to go this way. You will face resistance, and that energy pattern will not want to let go of its old habits, even though it's not working for them. And so I suppose those are my final comments as to, whether it goes forward is really all about, for me, is the best interest, the big picture, and where spiritually people need to head. But I think those are my final comments.
All right. So I think, Tiger, you've got another story to share.
Yeah. The additional story that I wanted to bring up, I was trying to bring out things that are the global and wanting to that'll affect a large amount. This one happens to be the U.S. again. It's about the U.S. Sovereign Wealth Fund. And what this is the president just signed this into,
Created one.
Yeah, thank you. And the U.S. has not had one of these before. Other countries have this. Basically, what it is it's a fund. It's like almost like an investment account. And if you imagine, it's similar to like if the company has investments for its employees that grow, right? So that they have retirement and all this kind of thing. This is the rudimentary concept of it. Typically, it's people like the group Saudi Arabia has one because of all their wealth of oil and so forth. So other countries have it. Looks like the U.S. is doing it now. The reason why I'm bringing it up for us to regroup about it is because the United States has the reserve currency for the world, and how this could affect things. The pluses and minuses are, from a big picture, typically these funds are created by surplus. So meaning that if the U.S. is taking in $100 and their expenses are $95, then the $5 extra that it took in can go into someplace. In this case, it could go to that fund. The challenge here is that if we're bringing in $100, America is, and they're spending $125, then where is the money coming to put into this fund, right? And that's kind of where America is right now. It's in that bringing in 100 and it's spending 125 type thing. So there's a bit of controversy with this. The spirit of a wealth fund is to help the country, help its citizens. So the theory is that if the wealth fund is operating well, then they can actually fund and do things for the country and help its citizens in ways without so much taxation or without borrowing so much. So that's kind of the big picture. It's a fund, like an investment account, that's meant to have a return on it. And it's meant to help the country and help the citizens. So that's just been created, and I wanted to bring it up. And so what are your discernments on all this?
Yeah, well, the first thing that pops into my mind is something out of the box.
Mm.
So even though you're saying that other countries around the world are doing it, but it really is an out of the box, something that most people probably wouldn't go, hey, let's do that.
Mm.
So it's quite interesting. And of course, to me, that's what President Trump is really all about. He's out of the box, right? I mean, like, coming in, not a politician, but of course going down the Republican, side, but recognizing the fact that he's a businessman, and so really moving out of the box and into, I want to say like a fast moving kind of lane, because everything that's been going on lately that I've noticed has been like people, the Democrats and those that are, counter him, can't keep up with him because he's moving so fast with stuff. So this out of the box scenario to me is exciting because even before, when President Trump was not elected yet and all the election stuff was coming in, I felt so much backing from Spirit in regards to a change. Now, we've been talking about this for several years now, many in the spiritual communities, what's coming and everything, but really this new direction for the country and the momentum that's behind him and the other people, the other side, Tulsi Gabbard and Kennedy and other people that are coming in to really back this. Well, Spirit's got the backing also. So that to me is a really big aspect about really thinking out of the box, because it's kind of like when you might be in the shower and you're washing your hair and you're like, oh my God, I got an insight about something. Like those sparks that come. Well, I can only imagine how many sparks Trump has every single day, and also like Elon and stuff. And that's why some of these people with the backing they've received from Spirit can have so many amazing insights and so amazing out of the box moments that some of us go, wow, that seems really crazy, but is it really? I mean, because otherwise the same old stuff happens all the time. And so I have the vision of like the momentum of a hamster wheel, right? You're in the hamster wheel, but hey, if you get out of the wheel and try something different, you might have a little more prosperity. You might have some more momentum to actually get something unique and different accomplished. So that's what I want to share about.
Yeah, and there's going to be some anxiousness around it, and there'll be a lot of fighting because if it was somebody else's idea, then it's a great idea. But if it's not his idea, if it's his idea, it's a bad idea. And one of the things that strikes me is that we live under illusions about our society and system. And the other day I was driving to go get a haircut, and I thought, I'm not really for socialism. I'm a freedom guy. My thrust is to be happy and free. So give me my freedom, and then let me balance that with my love and true concern for myself and others, and be open to the inspiration from Spirit and be flexible, because I don't always know that I have fixed ideas about things. But being raised in this Western culture and the suburbs I was raised in and the country I was raised in is going to give me, I'm going to have some concepts that were established either by my parents or my environment. So as I sort of move through those and grow spiritually and expand spiritually, sometimes when Spirit shares something with me, it's so outside of the square. I mean, I have to be ready for it to get an inkling of how that fits for me personally. So I love the idea. I mean, I love that kind of creative forward thinking. And the thought that occurred to me was that, I was a little worried about the whole socialist thing and the Marxist thing. And I thought, it's so funny because even the quote, democratic socialists that we have as politicians, I mean, everybody relies on a capitalist system, whether I know people might want to argue with me on that, but it's how the world works. No matter what, it's all about buying and selling and having the, having the power in the sense of the economic power, which gives you leverage. And, it's never going to be any different. I don't think not in this school, because, I have that feeling that we can all achieve, that we can all rise above. So, the devil will be in the details. And I think what we're seeing right now is a reevaluation of the things that we've invested in the past. And because there has been no oversight, like some really shonky programs have gone through, and there's probably been some really great stuff that we've done as well. So anyway, the old way is not working. I guess we come back to that. The old pattern of energy is every president, for quite a while, we haven't had a balanced budget, I think, since Clinton, and who was a Democrat who put that forward. And every year we're in a deficit, which means even though Congress or representatives, they approve a budget, we spend way more than that, and we go more and more in debt. And I think, when I think pretty much, I think in Trump's first we were like 23 trillion in debt. Now we're like 36 trillion. So it's not, we better do something different pretty soon if we want to maintain that leverage of having the world's reserve currency. And so anyway, I think those are my thoughts.
Okay. One of the interesting things that we do here is that we don't know what we're going to say. Like sometimes someone will say something, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were going to say. This is going to be one of those things. They don't know what I'm going to say. For me, I'm taking a very cautious approach to this. Everything that you brought up, I agree with. I'm sensitive to this one and some of the others. It seems to be this for me. There's these common threads seem to be showing up. It's very interesting. The spirit of good governance is really providing framework for people, right? And the more you do, the less freedoms people have. That's just the nature of it, right? Because where do they get money? Well, they get it from you and me. That's where it comes from, right? Even though they print it, it's technically the people's money. So they don't have any money of their own. So in order to do anything, they have to take it, right? So similar to the saying that the cat's out of the bag, right? So we're going down this path. There's nothing going to stop it. And a little bit of what, Tom, you brought up about, this amount of spending is just, imagine just someone just racking up credit card bills, but the amount of money that they earn to pay the credit card bill is less than what they're spending. And then on top of it, the interest starts getting higher, right? So that's the situation that gets brought up, right? But from bringing it back, and this has been going on forever, right? Different empires do that, right? So this is just the normal thing that okay, whatever.
I think that's a good point to make, that it's not a new pattern of energy.
Nah, everybody does it. Everybody does it. So it's just let's not get our knickers in a twist too bad about it. However, the thing that I'm bringing up is spiritually, I need to be real sensitive to what the core movement of what I'm involved in, right? There is a finite amount of energy that I can have and be a part of if I start straying from what I've come to do, right? And there'll be things to even move me to come back, to get back on track, right? And sometimes that feels uncomfortable or, destructive even, right? Like I'll be doing something and then I'll have an accident and then I have to come back and reevaluate, or I'll doing something and I'll catch a cold or I'll get sick and then I have to come back and take care of myself, right? They say if you get a cold, it means that you're leaving yourself out. That's a symbolic thing, that if you catch a cold, you're leaving yourself out. And if you stay sick for a long period of time after you catch that cold, it means that you're feeling sorry for yourself instead of getting back involved and get out there, right? And so I need to, as a core, I need to come back to what I'm about. Otherwise, what happens is if I'm constantly trying to fix things, right? If I'm constantly trying to fix things, I invite trouble, right? One of the criticism is that, okay, if there's going to be this big fund, it's going to invite corruption. It's going to, all the bureaucrats and the politicians want this fund around them because it's an amazing amount of money, and they don't have to worry about if they were in business, right? They can do whatever they want, right? So if for myself, if I'm off target, if I'm off where I'm supposed to be, I will invite confusion, right? I'm inviting it unconsciously because I'm not staying my course. I'm not true to what I've come to do. And to me, that's really laid out in the whole balance, science, religion, and society and communication in the lecture. I know I say that, but it just I plug those things like our lecture and our stuff like that. But it's just so clean and clear to help me discern it, help you discern it. And the final piece of this component is what you brought up, that there's going to be solutions. If I have going down a certain road, I'm working with things that have real challenge, or I'm off my target, right? If I'm willing to bring something in to help me get back on target, and I'm a part of that bigger picture, right? If I'm committed to saying, no, I'm going to get back on balance, back to what I've come to do, then the things that I put in place will eventually breed life and help me. If I keep doing the same thing that I've always done, then I'm going to get what I've always got. Right. And I can put all these fancy pieces in place. Right. I can put have all these great, wonderful people who care for me, love me, want to back me and support me. But I'm going to drive the whole thing into the ground because I'm still playing the same game. So the key for me in all this, and the discernment behind it of what I'm going to take home, is I need to make sure I come back to my simple fundamentals. What have I come to do? And then from there, if I'm in a hole, I can dig myself out, right? I stop digging and I can get a ladder to get out, right? If I'm doing well, I can do better, right? Because I come back to that simplicity. I come back to what I've come to do, and then everything works for me. And the stuff that I don't need starts to fall away. And the stuff that I do need, if I don't have it, will start showing up. All I have to do is claim it. So to me, it's just coming back home, making sure what the fundamental is, and then there'll be creativity to how to get there. There'll be ideas that will spur to the next thing. And to wrap it up, we were sharing before we got started, and I think it was this and the previous time, was every time I have taken opportunity based on an inspiration, based on an insight from spirit or the universe or whatever you want to call that. Every time I've moved with that and taken opportunity, it's always been either successful or led me to some kind of other opportunity that became a success. Every time. And every time that I try to take the opportunity that I'm trying to think purely logically, it always kind of just flat. And then when I try to make a decision based on fear, I always end up in the same place, and it always makes a mess. So when I'm moving based on that inspiration, it is amazing how things work. And so that's the hope and support that I have for this particular news thing, that we're moving on based on inspiration. But more importantly than that is for myself spiritually, and for us, is that we move based on what we've come to do and the inspirations around that.
So hang tight with us. We've got one more inspiring story for you. We'll be right back. When you synchronize time and trust to get your own answers, it makes playing the game of life a whole lot easier. Part of the game here is about unfolding your inner wisdom, those intuitive gifts that support you every day. Being able to tune into those messages when they show up through the 4 unique avenues is a game changer. These avenues are the ability to just know things, see with your inner vision, hear that small still voice within, and feel from those gut instincts. We all have these abilities. If you're interested in finding out more about how you can unfold them to support your unique journey, you're going to love our monthly masterclasses called Intuition Now. Check out the link below for the date and timing of the next set of classes. And get ready to be in the right timing to trust your inner wisdom. See you soon.
All right, welcome back. All right, we have a little inspiring story that I think we feel like. Teresa, you want to open up on that
I
one?
would love to open up with an inspirational story. And so hang with me for a moment here, guys, because at first it may not sound so inspirational. So I've been noticing a lot of some doomsday things going on. And one particular I've noticed, and several times for the last week or so, has been around an asteroid hitting the Earth. And supposedly on December 22nd, 2032, we have an opportunity for an asteroid hitting the Earth.
2032.
2032. So that's not too far away.
Not too far.
And so I looked a little bit deeper into this, and I recognized that there was a little more backstory to one of these stories that I saw, because again, there was a lot of different stories. And this story talked about 3 years ago, there was a vital space test conducted by NASA called the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or called DART, which proved that as long as we have advance notice, we can send out a simple satellite to redirect any potentially hostile asteroids. And so they sent out this DART to an asteroid way out into the solar system, and it actually redirected it. And so this is a really inspiring story, because one thing that someone said on here is planetary defense is a globally unifying effort that affects everyone living on Earth, said Thomas Zurbuchen, Associate Administrator for the Science Mission Directorate at NASA headquarters in Washington at the time of the impact. So that's an inspiring thing. So I would love to ask Tom, what's your inspiration for no asteroids hitting or meteors hitting us?
Well, I'm for it. I'm for no asteroids hitting us. I can.
Oh, you don't remember the last
Yeah, I
time they
think
hit
that's
one?
a bipartisan, universal, non-sectarian viewpoint. As long as I'm here, anyway. Yeah. When I'm gone, have at it. Have at it, universe. The keyword utopia struck me. And one of the insights I had during this week, my guidance was reminding me, again, I think on the way to get a haircut, is that, as much as we try to create a utopia, if I try to create a utopia for myself or for society, like, it's not going to happen. If I just have this much money, or if I just have these people around me, or if I just have this house, and, usually there's a combination of the above, or if I just have this health situation, or if I just, and then, I'll be relaxed and secure. I find myself entertaining those thoughts once in a while. And one thing I've learned, I think I've regrouped, is that there is no utopia, because as many of us who are a bit more mature can all attest to, is, man, life just keeps evolving and changing. I mean, the environment is either changing, or the people around me are changing, or they're having their learning and growing experiences, or, I'm changing, and, nothing stays the same except for death and taxes. I guess we always say that, right? So, the real utopia is I'm only going to find that by looking within. So it's not so much what I have around me, but how am I traveling as a soul through that opportunity, that I'm, a part of spirit. I came from spirit, and I'm going to return to spirit. And as I mature, that's something I reflect upon every so often, every other day. And so what is really my purpose and my focus, is I kind of tune into that, and then I recheck with my guidance. So it's more a way of traveling than a place that I'm going to arrive to. And why does that story about an asteroid inspire me to share about utopia? Is because, hey, we could solve all the political problems. Gaza could be solved. We've got an efficient government, go figure. And for the most part, there'll always be something, like Rosanna Dana's mother said. And if it's not that, it'll be it'll be asteroids that we've got to be over concerned about. But what an empowering story, in that, wow, this is where humans are at this point on the planet, where we're able to have so much control over our environment. I find that a very uplifting thought, that we have, and we could actually shoot something. The only other thing that strikes me is, we shoot that little dart out there, and bam, bang, it hits a meteor, and then another 100,000 light years away, it crashes into some planet and destroys all their dinosaurs. Well, it was a good day for us that day, but so anyway, over to you.
I'll start with where Tom left. Is what an amazing place and development we have. I mean, to be able to move and shift asteroids that are coming toward planet Earth. I mean, think about that, right? We've really progressed, as a group and people and our intellect and all that. My gosh, that really is amazing. The other things that stood out to me on this was how important are my troubles to me? How important are my problems? They all seem to pale in comparison to when I think about an asteroid going to hit in a couple of years and it's going to have 4 times the power of Hiroshima and the World War II bomb dropping or something like or more, right? Like, that seems like my little thing I was worried about is kind of trivial, right? All of a sudden, so it's a great reminder, and it's the thing I say when I'm sharing with people. Okay, 1,000 years from now, what are you really going to have? So 1,000 years from now, what am I going to have? And we do something called regrouping, right? And it's just an opportunity that we do in our routines in this program where I regroup every evening about my day and how things are going. I regroup every week, once a week, of how my week went, right? I regroup once a month and say, hey, how did the month go? And what it does, it allows me to set my energy for the next day, the next week, the next month, et cetera, right? And if I'm coming from that larger pivot point of what is the bigger picture, what's really important to me, right? Because I'm always going to, and I think you're alluding to this, is that there's always going to be this stuff. There's always going to be stuff. This is planet Earth. It's like so many different levels of consciousness here. So there's always people figuring it out and going through this. And, I remember when I used to do that too. And like, wow, I wish I could do that. There's always going to be that because there's so many different layers of consciousness. This is not just one level of consciousness. Maybe if we're on Mars, we're all thinking about war, or maybe if we're on Venus, we're all thinking about sex or something, I don't know. But here we got all those wonderful states of consciousness, all those different ideas. So it's even more important today than ever for me to be clear of what I've come to do, to be clear of what I want, right? Just simple little goals. What do I want? Do I want to be more abundant? Great. Let's put that in there and let's make sure I want to have more friendships. Okay, great. Let's put that there. Just to be clear about it, right? So I have something to regroup about, and that when it's time for me to do the ultimate regrouping, when it's time for me to go home and let the body go back down to the earth and I float up to wherever heaven is, whatever that is, that I'm actually regrouping my life based on what I've come to do, what I really want, and was I following that, So that's a key part of it is really it's inspirational because it number one, my God, what we can accomplish, and how all this trivial stuff of fighting this or worrying about that, nothing. That's that big, nothing. When we start thinking about like, oh, this is going to hit the earth. Oh my gosh, right? So even though it's kind of like a sobering story, it's like pretty wonderful and powerful. But so that's that. And then the final thing is how important it is just for me to go back to that symbol of the universe, who I am, where I came from, and where I'm going. And that's what settles the whole thing down. So it's a good story. I'm glad you brought it up.
Thanks. And so for myself, it really put things in perspective, which I think is what I hear you saying and what Tom's saying too. So, because for some reason lately, I've been, as I'm traveling to and from work and around town, I'm just, and at nighttime, which is dark in the morning, and then at afternoon, I'm like, man, we're flying through this solar system like, holy crap. And nothing hits us that often, right? Except for once in however many millions or billions of years or whatever. So I also found it exciting, the fact that we have come to this place in our lineage of history where we can create moments where we can maybe divert a little something so we don't all are annihilated. That's a positive thing. And also this story, even though again, it may sound a little like doomsday if something might hit us some point, and it could down the road. But the fact that, really getting me back into, again, like you're saying, my purpose and what am I here to do? What am I here to explore in this right timing, in this right place? And if I'm here to experience, an asteroid hitting the planet, then, game on. But the fact that there are some people and some organizations, contemplating how to do it and have already done some of that moving of asteroids, it's exciting. So I'm excited, and it just gave me again that puts things in perspective of life, and that I'm not taking it so seriously, which we all do occasionally, and damn enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll always be opportunity to learn and grow,
That's right.
and there'll always be challenges.
Just like this episode, we had fun, didn't we, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the end of another episode of Spiritual Perspectives, Discerning News. We hope you enjoyed it, and we thank you wherever you're at listening. Let us know down below in the comments what your takeaway was and what you enjoyed, and we'll be back again soon.
And if you want any take on any stories out there, let us know.
To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.